Hello everyone and welcome to the final week of the ANZ Season 4 HGC qualifiers. I am GL Phoenix, and with me this week, I'm not going to be doing it alone. I will have Blank with me. And Blank, how are you doing this evening? Are you ready for some great Heroes of the Storm action?
Yes, I am GL. Thanks for having me. Feels good to not do it solo, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm excited for tonight's games. It is the last week of the playoffs, as you mentioned, and tonight we have Dark-Sided against Crimson Esports.
Yeah, we have Crimson on the blue, Dark-Sided on the red. The map bands were Sky Temple and Warhead Junction. And we're on to Tomb of the Spider Queen right off the bat, and already the Chromie being taken away from Dark-Sided.
Well, we didn't expect anything more. Get rid of the Chromie ban, get rid of the Chromie from the Hacky, and it's a easier game for them.
Absolutely. He's proven to be an absolutely devastating Chromie. And this is one of those maps where Chromie can get a lot of value. So taking that off the board, not entertaining any opportunity for that to happen. And the ban for Darksided is that Tassadar, which leaves that first pick over to Crimson, being that Garrosh.
Yeah, it has been noted Garrosh has come up a few times now in the Gamester tournament over the last couple of weeks, which has been good to see. We've just seen Zul and Stukov picked up by Dark-Sided there. Zul being fantastic on this map for the wave clear, the ability to create those skeletons and get that push going.
Yeah, and applying a lot of pressure in the lanes. And there's also several ways that you can play with that Zul. You can either have him as just a very stable solo laner. He can be very self-sufficient and also put a lot of pressure down. But also, if you want to go for the 4-1 split and allow him to soak two lanes, those are the options that Darkseid can go with. But on the other side, for Crimson, they have picked up their two DPS in the Greyman and the Gul'dan.
Yeah, not too out of the ordinary picks. Gul'dan kind of counters that Zul wave clear a bit. Really easy to clean up those lanes. The Stukov as a solo healer will be good for them to push and Dark-Sided. But at the same time, he does lack that cleanse. So what we're going to see is a fair bit of flipping and throwing, I believe. We've just seen a Morales ban straight up for Dark-Sided there. And what do you think about that?
Well, I do know that Moops is a very avid player of the Mirage, but so it's very interesting to see that they're actually banning it out themselves. The Leoic was banned by Crimson, but that does allow the Stitches and the Kalthas to come in for Darkseid. So they have a good amount of lockdown with the Stitches into either the Zul or the Kalthas, and they have a decent amount of damage to follow that up with.
Not to mention that silence from Stukov just
Yeah.
put underneath it. That's going to deny them a lot. But they have left open the Uther. And an Uther Divine Shield on a Greymane going ham on that backline could be detrimental.
Yeah, and sure, he has taken a bit of a nerf on the recent patch, giving a little bit less armor, but he's still a very stable support, and that is, as you mentioned, it is on the table. It is a potential pickup for Crimson. We'll just have to wait and see what they go with, because, to be honest, there hasn't been too much attacking on the support pool in this draft.
No, you're right.
When we usually see, like, 2 to 3 bans and already at least 2 picked up at this point in the game.
Well, there's a Rhaegar and a Tyrael. I knew they were going to take another frontliner because Garrosh as a solo tank just doesn't seem viable at this point in Garrosh's play in ranked. Rhaegar pick's pretty good. I'm seeing an Ancestral possibly here. And the Arthur's picked up by Dark-Sided there. Anything you'd think about the draft so far?
Well, the Rhaegar, I do believe, is one of the more highly prioritized supports right now because of the way the other healers like Oriel and Uther have been taking hits. Rhaegar has risen in priority, and especially when you have this reasonably forward, or you have a rather considerable frontline with the Garrosh, the Tyrael, and even potentially the Greyman once he starts diving in, the Rhaegar is going to enable those compositions quite well. So they have a rather good lineup on the side of Crimson, but looking at Dark-Sided, that is going to be so tough to push through.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for Crimson to deal with there. That KT, Zul, Stukov, and the Arthas and Stitches in their faces. If Stitches can land a decent hook, I don't see that person getting out unless maybe it's a Tyrael Everyone else is pretty much dead.
Yeah, there
Um,
are very limited ways of escaping a lot of those hooks, and if the follow up coming out from Darksided is good, and we have something like the gravity lapse or the bone prison or really anything, to be honest, there's so much that they
yeah,
can follow up on those hooks. It's gonna be very hard for Crimson to get out of those.
they do. They've got so much routing available. They've got the Arthas routes as well there.
Hmm.
Um, that I honestly like the Dark-Sided draft better for this one.
Yeah, well, we are going to be getting into game very shortly, as we do have a very quick pause. But on the blue side, for game one of this round one series, it is going to be Crimson with the Shadow on Rhaegar. We have Ultivian on Gul'dan, Azure on Greymane, Jesmez on Tyrael, and Laika is going to be playing that Garrosh. Meanwhile, on the red side, we have
DS Moops is playing Stukov, Demise on Zul, Hacky on KT, Robodoba playing Stitches. Great to see him back on that tank role, and Sashin on his Arthas. I've seen a lot of Sashin on that Arthas in games before. He's really strong. They're all comfort picks. Hacky's going to pop off as per normal. Um, we can't have Hacky not pop off on a mage.
absolutely.
Typical ANZ pause though, GL.
Yeah, just always getting those technical issues drawn out throughout any kind of event. It's just, as you mentioned, just typical of the ANZ scene. We will be getting back into it very soon. But you were talking about Robodoba being on that tank, where we saw at the very start of the season that Robodoba was more on the melee, the solo laners, the melee DPS, and I think they were mentioning that it was a lot of it due to Robodoba not necessarily being as ingrained with the team as at that time, but as we've seen the weeks go on, we're seeing him transition back over to his more comfortable role of that main tank. We've seen him do quite well for the team.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Looking at the talents, nothing overly unusual that I can see so far on the side of Dark-Sided there. We've got the Grey Infestation on Stukov. He's gone for that expanded area.
Yep.
Backlash on the Zul. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to mention is the Pursuit of Flame coming out from the Gul'dan. We have seen over the past couple of weeks some Gul'dan players actually favouring the Echoing Corruption again. It's starting to make a little bit of a comeback. It does seem to have a much higher up point when it comes to damage, but it seems that the Pursuit of Flame, the Fell Flame build, just seems to be a little bit more consistent.
We didn't really have that mid-skirmish. Both teams were posturing around that middle point there, but no one really opting to go in. Oh, we already have a
onto
throw
Demise. He gets
onto
flipped
Black.
in. He does take a lot of damage. The healing was just not out there enough for Zul, but it looks like they will be able to get one in return as they do finish off the
You're right.
Garrosh. Nice lurking arm there coming out from Moops, really securing that kill for DS.
100% right there, Jill. That silence just got so much value against the Garrosh. Nothing he could do to get out of that.
But we did see that's the kind of plan that Crimson want to do, or want to execute on throughout this game. They want to get that the Groundbreaker from that Garage into the Wrecking Ball and then just destroy that target. They were able to do it in the end, but they had to give up a fair bit for it.
They did. They lost their Garrosh for it. But in the XP at the moment, they are slightly behind.
Or a bit of engage on the top side.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They do get a nice hook down onto Laika. He's brought back in. He's taking a lot of damage as they... Oh, he almost brings in Moops close enough. And this flank coming out from Sashin. Azure's going very low. He's taking a lot of damage, but a lot of it is being returned onto the side of Dark-Sided.
No.
They do manage to drag in Hacky, but they've already lost one. So it's just going to be a one-for-one trade so far as they want to keep the fight going. Moops gets thrown into the team. He has nothing left to help out. He goes down, but a great Howling Blast coming out from the Arthas will do a lot of work, but they just don't have the damage or sustainability left on the team. They are going to lose 3 throughout that, and only 1 goes down for Crimson.
That's a massive win for Crimson. Oh, that
No.
throw from Garrosh, Laika,
He was
saving
so
himself from that hook.
He was like having none of that. You hook me in, nah, get out of here. I don't want any of that. But that was very close
No.
to being a kill secured
The
for Darkseid.
Garrosh armor getting so much value in that team fight. Gary was so low that entire time. We've seen here the entire of Darkseid rotating up that top lane, looking for that pick on the Greymane. Doesn't look like they're going to get it, so they're probably going to back out.
Yeah, it looks like at this point in the game we are just seeing both teams trying to utilize their wave clear as much as possible. I was kind of mentioning in the draft that there's the potential to have the Zul in the solo lane, but it seems that they've had him set up with this 4-stack just to keep that wave clear as solid as possible. They do get the flip down onto Robert Dover, but they do not have nearly enough to just burst through that giant tank.
No, in the bottom we've got pretty much a stalemate between Jesmez and Sashin on the Arthas and Tyrael respectively. Arthas having just that much better wave clear, I'd say.
Yeah.
He's taking a lot of damage. He's low on mana. Sashin, in the meantime, is completely full.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the Arthas. He does have that rather considerable wave clear. He has his own sustain. He can be rather obnoxious when you come up against another tank in that 1v1, but we've seen them come up towards the mid lane trying to get some kind of flank going on, using this extra time where Jesmez has been just on the back foot, just reacting to waves to try and get a play going in mid. Nothing really comes of it. And we're just continuing this rather passive wave clear for now, as it looks like we're trying to get a bit of a rotation on the bottom side, as Sachin is almost going to get caught out. He is going to get the root down onto 3 members, but he gets flipped back into the team.
Massive flip.
He has a little bit of sustain, but it's not nearly enough to help him out through 4 members of Crimson.
With that massive wave clear that DS has with the Zul, I'm actually surprised at the amount of experience that Crimson have in front of them.
Nice flip going on to Robert Dover, but as per usual, there's just not nearly enough burst coming in just yet. Once we get to level 10, once we see things like the Cursed Bullet and maybe even a Horrifier to split up the team, we could really start to see a nice couple of kills come in from those hooks. But a nice gravity lamps, and it looks like we're starting to get the plays towards the trying to get those turn-ins, and whether they're reasonably close. As a nice flip goes down onto Hacky, he takes a lot of damage and he goes down, but gets a nice flame strike onto several members. The blue weavers did get confirmed, so Crimson are in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, you're right there. In the meantime, while that was going on, we've got Greymane getting a hand in against the Zul up the top lane there, and that's the first spiders going over to Crimson.
Yeah, and
we are
see
seeing a bit of
how
engagement.
much they can get out of this. As a nice hook goes down onto Altivian, but there's no follow-up. But yeah, the first web weavers, it's usually where we start to see these XP differentials just start to grow. Once you use, usually we've been seeing these first web weavers being used to take down those outer towers in all lanes, and then utilizing that XP advantage to try and just control the map and get potentially a second, even a third back-to-back web weaver phases. The top one is going to be cleared up, the middle one going to go down shortly, but already a nice lead coming out for Crimson.
Yeah, they are looking to put a lot of pressure on this bottom lane. With those top 2 web weavers cleaned up really quickly, I think they need to be careful here, because they will look for a hook. They will look to push them back out. There's a nice route coming down from the Arthas just to zone them away, and they are doing the right thing and safely backing off there.
Yeah, they got essentially what you want out of that first web weaver phase. At least a couple of outer towers, and we're starting to see the experience lead already is 1 level in favor of Crimson, but we'll have to see if they can actually control the map and deny a potential turning coming for Darkside, as already we have Robert overhanding in on the bottom side.
Well, they didn't get the deny there, but
yeah.
They are very close to 10, GL. With this top wave here, they could almost get 10, and that's kind of what you want. You want to have that 10 before the enemy team. You want to be able to have that for an engage. You want to be able to use it to stop them from getting any value whatsoever with these web weavers.
Yeah, and I believe Darkside are going to try and play as safe as possible, because as you mentioned, level 10 is up now. Those heroics on board. It is going to be the Horrify, Cursed Bullet, Notification, Walls Challenge, etc. here. They're just the standard things coming up from Crimson, nothing too special, but we are seeing Darkside get very close to 10. This web weaver has been doing a decent amount of work in at least bridging that gap, and at least doing it safely for Darkside. It is one thing to get to try and get that experience, but what those web weavers are just doing, allow them to do it so safely, it put them in a pretty good position. As Sasha gets flipped in the team with the Warlord's challenge, and the Cursed Bullet puts so much damage down to the Sasha, and the healing is just not nearly enough. But the turnaround damage is very good, but Ancestral does keep Leica alive. As
nice fear coming out there. Another pull in from the Garrosh, and down goes Zul. That's 2.
Oh, a nice hook down onto Leica. They're actually going to use the Gorge, and they want to bring him under the tower. The lurking arm is going to get dropped as they are going to get a lot of damage. The nice sanctification turns that around completely as Robodova is going to be forced away. And wow, very strong start coming out of Crimson, and Darkside, they're just struggling to get these picks that they so sorely need.
Another nice hook from Robodova on the Stitches. Not getting anything for it except for interrupting that turn in. They are still chasing. They're looking for a kill. I don't think they're going to get it though, GL.
Yeah, with that garage on the top side, Crimson have to be a little bit more careful as they don't have that frontliner to take a lot of the pressure. But already we have seen a rather considerable start coming out for Crimson. A Web Weaver phase going to both sides, but in the end, Crimson have the experience lead. They have the structural advantage. They're in a pretty good position right now.
Oh, we've got a flank coming in from Sashin.
Doesn't get hit up with that groundbreaker. Oh, a nice Ultra Ruins gets Jessamine out of there. The mind games. The Jukes were pretty to watch. We've got a lot of members coming towards the bottom side of this map.
We do. It looks like they are going to push in for that bottom fort, try to start something here
with
a
nice
the
Horrify, and they absolutely demolish that. Arthas gets nothing in that fight as Moops is going to go down as well. Doesn't really get anything as Hacky is trying to get some work done with his KT. The damage is coming out, but it's just not nearly enough. The Poison Nova actually hitting across a few members, but Demise is going to fall thanks to that corruption damage as in the end, it's going to be a 3-0 in favor of Crimson. They are going to push down this fort and really balloon this XP lead early in this game blank.
They have. They've given it up to Crimson right now. While just before they took that fight, we saw Greymane take that Merc camp. The engage was fantastic, just blowing up the Arthas, leaving them 4v5 and picking up 13 for their troubles with that win.
Yeah, it was a brilliant wall of challenge coming out from Leica. Managed to taunt up so many members as Robodova gets hit up again. And he is just demolished as we have a lot of damage coming out from Hacky, but it's just not nearly enough. They don't have much more damage outside of that Kalthaz, and it's really starting to show in these fights.
I feel that lack of cleanse is really hurting them right now. With Stukov as the healer, yes, they get a lot of value with the AoE heals, but when it comes to a engage like that where they are getting thrown, they're getting absolutely pummeled, they've got no way to stop it right now.
Yeah, and also with the wave clear being a little bit better on the side of, potentially a little bit better on the side of Crimson, they're able to rotate just a little bit better, and we've been seeing them utilizing that extra time to get those picks as the hook went down onto, I think it was Jesmez, but I think got a cleanse or something?
No, he got stopped by the tower because Robodova must have just missed it.
The angle was a little bit off.
Yeah.
Collided with that fort. So in the end, it's just going to be another fort going over to the side of Crimson, where Weavers are going to be cleaned up, and it looks like Crimson want to start working towards the boss.
I don't know whether they're going to try to bait it or whether they're actually going to do it. They haven't got enough for another turn in just yet. All 5 members are up. It's possibly a risky call, but they do have Horrify available if they do want to contest Darksided, I mean.
Yeah, Darksided is starting to move their way up towards it. They have an idea that it's going to go, that this is the players. It looks like Crimson are going to be moving away from it, realizing that the contest could be rather risky proposition to make.
It might have also been that Darksided had just picked up the 13 talent there as well. That was a fantastic... But the flip is
going to get amongst the team, and the sanctification is perfect coming out of the Tyrael. They are going to clean up the Stitches at the very start of this fight, but a lot of damage is actually being returned onto the members of Crimson. They lose the Greymane, and it looks like the Ancestral did go down onto Leica, and he's able to stick around in this fight as he flips Sashin into the enemy base, but he's not able to get any follow-up damage. But in the end, it is going to be a very favourable fight going over to the side of Darkside if they're able to get out of theirs. Ultivian is doing a decent amount of work, a lot of AoE work from the sidelines, as he is going to force away the members of the Darkside, but they've got to start working on their way back. Sashin has no mana. A lot of the resources are onto Hacky and moves as they have to be very careful walking forward, but a very good fight coming from Darkside, and it looks like this could very well be their way back into the game.
Yeah, you're right. It was a true 2-for-3 trade there. Stitch is coming back a lot quicker, obviously being the first one to die. But they did manage to get away without losing any other members, which was a risk they were about to take there.
Ooh, Hacky getting...
They are going in on the Hacky here. You've got Rhaegar going, chasing. But they don't go all the way. They don't chase him down. They do back off safely, thankfully.
Yeah,
Jasmine
and it is going to be a
just
weapon
zoning
phase
out.
going over to Darksided. They're in a good position to keep this pushing as a helping hand comes in onto Sashin to get him out of any precarious position thanks to Leica, but they are down talent tiers. It's 16 for Crimson and they're in a pretty good position to hold this off, but Darksided, they want to at least push the tempo. They want to be the proactive team, not getting forced around like they have been all game so far.
You're right there. Oh, that cleanse.
They do get the flip down onto
Again.
Sashin as the Waller's challenge is very good as the sanctification yet again as they stack up right on it as they can't really do anything about it as the damage from that Poison Over is doing a lot of work and the damage from Hacky is also doing so much work. Like is able to sustain himself but he gets hooked into the rest of the team. But he flips Hacky into a very bad position as Azure, it looks like he might go down. He does to that living bomb and in the end it's just a 2 for 2.
2 for 2 trade, but in the meantime, GL, we've lost the top fort to Crimson lost the top fort to the Web Weaver, and the bottom fort is very, very low, with the other two members rotating down to finish it off now. Looks like Zul is going to push in through the mid and possibly get that mid fort as well. So I call that a massive win for Darksided, as they have evened up that experience to a degree, and they are still having those Web Weavers up. They need to be cleared out.
Absolutely, they're very well back into this game as we're starting to see them eke out these little advantages in these later team fights. And sure, they've been going somewhat even, but because of the position of the map at the time, it's looking rather good for Darkseid as Robodova is looking to get a pick off, but the Shadow and Altivian playing it rather safe, not rotating in any kind of dangerous areas, but Robo, he really wants that hook to land.
Right. We are. Oh, we have a hook. Oh, unlucky. It wasn't the person you'd want to be hooking either, that Tyrael.
Yep.
Always able to get out.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's not going to amount to anything as it allows Crimson to get a lot of pressure on the top side as looks like they want to try and drag Darksided around that boss yet again to try and at least start something. They're very close to another turn-in and trying to start a fight could be risky. If they lose it, they could lose a lot of gems and really lose out a bit. Like the flip goes down onto Robodova. The nice bullet goes onto him as well as the Waller's challenge is going to get used as Robodova is going so low. He's able to sustain himself just a little bit. He uses the Gorge onto the Greyman to keep himself just alive.
Oh, that sanctification was fantastic.
Good. Yeah, they're able to keep this fight going. It has been just one down on the side. It is going to go actually two down on Darkseid as the support.
It looks like Demise is about to fall as well on the Zul.
Azure is going to be able to finish him off in that backline as the pause comes out for Demise as it looks like this fight could go even more in favor of Crimson as we do have Hacky and Sargent on so rather low HP bars and getting chased down.
Not to mention, look at the Garrosh right now. He's got that, he's got the flip ready to go. It looks like it's about to hit Arthas there. Sashin's going to get flipped straight back in, and he's probably going to go down as well. We might see Hacky escape, but with the Tyrael movement speed, I think that it's going to be a 5-man wipe.
Yeah, it could very well be a wipe as you mentioned. Arthas goes down. Hacky is actually going to get locked down with that Holy Ground.
Holy Ground.
And there's not really much that Hacky can do at this point. It looks like he is going to fall, and this opens up a easy boss going over to Crimson as that was a 5-for-0, a very clean fight. And a lot of the time we've been seeing them just attack that front line, use that curse bullet, and then everything on that frontliner, and there's just not nearly enough coming out of Darkseid to help that.
At the same time, Jesmez and Azure are both so low right now. Gul'dan getting the hand in while they get the boss. Now they know they're getting it, but they always knew they were going to be getting it.
Absolutely.
Nothing they can do to stop it, Darksided. And Crimson pick up a boss and the turn-in, looking to get a massive amount of value in this top lane here.
Yeah, they have, as you mentioned, that Web Weaver coming through at a very good time as well, so this could quite easily be a keep going down, and depending on how any kind of potential defense comes out, could even just be the game right here.
Yeah, absolutely right. One throw, one flip, one death, and that could be game.
Both teams playing rather conservative as the hook gets thrown out, doesn't actually land from Robodova as There's a decent amount of AoE, or as
Oh, there goes Sashin
Arthas
again.
gets
Instantly
absolutely
blown out.
deleted. Absolutely nothing he can do. As Azure gets thrown into the team, as Haki is taking a lot of the aggression, but hasn't gone too low just yet. As a nice poison over
In the
goes across many
meantime,
members. As Ultivian's in the
has
back line,
been
he's
swallowed.
he does get the ancestral out of the shadow, and throughout all of that, it was just one member to go down.
It was only one member, but we still have the boss that's got a massive amount of health, mid
a lot of
and
damage.
bottom lane
Great.
after pushing, and there's
Wow.
the sanctification. This could be game right here, Gio.
Yeah, the damage is coming out, but it's just not nearly enough. They're not able to deal with that boss at the same time, as that is going to be it. Game 1 goes over to Crimson.
Wow, that was surprising there, Gio. Game 1 going to Crimson. They didn't make it look hard at all. They dominated for the most part of that game, Gio.
Absolutely. A lot of what we saw was just them blasting down that front line over and over, and just not nearly enough follow-up for Darkseid to stick around in that fight. So, yeah, that was a very strong start to the series, but it's still a best of, and we'll have to see how Darkseid come back in the rest of it.